Okay, so welcome in this video, and today we are going to talk about 10 important questions when it comes to stability study. Okay, so my name is Bhaskar Napte, and I love sharing whatever I learned being into the pharmaceutical industry for last 20 years. So let us begin with the presentation and understand what are those 10 questions. Okay, so the question number one is, can an A&A be submitted with 6 months of accelerated stability and 6 months of long-term stability data? See now we have the ICH guideline that is Q1A R2, but sometimes the guidelines may not be elaborative in making sure that we understand it completely, and that is the reason of taking few important questions and trying to answer those questions in consultation with the same guideline. The question here is now, can an A&A be submitted with 6 months of long-term and accelerated data? Yeah, the answer to this question is absolutely yes. However, if significant change observed at 6 months of accelerated, then the 6 months of intermediate data is needed. We know that in case if the drug, substance or product does not meet the accelerated stability condition, we can always go back and start performing the study with the intermediate stability condition. Okay, so the question number two is, when do intermediate stability studies needs to be initiated in the event of failure at accelerated condition? So this the answer for this question is, an A&A applicant should start accelerated, intermediate and long-term stability studies at the same time, so the data are available at the time of submission if the accelerated stability study fails. So we should not wait until this accelerated data gets failed, but when we load the sample for stability, we must load the sample for long-term, accelerated, as well as intermediate conditions. So that in case if you need to, withdraw the sample for the intermediate, you will have the sample ready at the same time. And we know that when it is needed to be perform intermediate stability study, in case of failure of the accelerated condition. The third important question is, if one among the three batches in accelerated conditions shows a significant change, what should be done? So the question here is, not all three batches are showing the significant change, but only one batch is showing the significant change. Now what is to be done? If accelerated data shows a significant change or failure of any attribute in one or more batches, an applicant should submit intermediate data for all three batches. For all three batches is very important statement, because even though my one batch is failing for the accelerated condition, maybe because of significant change or maybe because of the out of specification, that doesn't mean that that particular batch needs to be performed for the intermediate conditions, but I need to perform intermediate stability study for all three batches. The point number two is, in addition, the submission should contain a failure analysis. Now, there is a failure occurred at the accelerated condition, and there must be investigation conducted to understand what is the root cause, whether your substance, your product is sensitive towards humidity, sensitive towards heat. Now, those conclusion needs to also be submitted in the final application. The question number four is, how long do the three pilot scale batches submitted as a part of an ANDA needs to be stored before destruction? See, these pilot scale batches are not for the commercialization, and we may have a batch size of, let us say, 1 lakh tablets. So what are you going to do with this 1 lakh tablet? Because all these tablets are not going to get consumed during the stability study. So when someone can destruct the tablets or the product, and this is the answer. In general, ANDA submission batch samples should be stored for 1 year after approval of the ANDA. So the moment you get the approval for the ANDA, after that 1 year, you must keep your sample. The point number two is, the samples for the drug product used for bioequivalent studies must store as per the 21 CFR 320.38 and 21 CFR 320.63. So let us understand what this CFR talks about. So each reserve sample shall be retained for a period of at least 5 years following the date on which the application is approved. On the date on which the application is approved. After that, the 5 years the B sample needs to be stored. Or if such application is not approved, if there is rejection of the approval, then at least 5 years following the date of completion of the bioavailability study. So I think guidance is very much clear. If there is approval given by the FDA, then 5 years from the approval date. If the dossier is suppose got rejected, then you know what is the date of bio study, and from that bio study, 5 years you need not to destruct the sample. After that, you can destruct the B sample. Should all three batches be stored in final proposed packaging? Because we have primary packaging and the secondary packaging or the marketing pack. So do we need to load the stability samples with the proposed final packaging? Answer is yes. You should package all three batches in the container closure system proposed for the marketing. For example, if your marketing pack is alu alu blister followed by carton, then along with alu alu blister, then carton, you must load the sample into a stability. This is the meaning of this question. The point number 6 is, what is the agency's position on using different lots of APIs and or packaging materials? How many API lots should be used in the manufacture of finished product lots used to support the A&A? So how many lots of API and the packaging material? That is the question. And here is the answer for that. It is not necessary to use different lots of packaging material except in case where the packaging material could affect drug products performance and or delivery. So in case of dosage forms like tablets, capsules, the performance of the dosage form is not really dependent onto the packaging material. And for this kind of dosage forms, the different lots of packaging materials need not to be investigated. But in case if the performance is really dependent onto the packaging materials, like for example in case of MDIs, the canister, right, can plays a very important role in delivering the suitable dose. So in that case you may think of using different lots of the packaging materials also. Okay, so MDIs and DPIs, for those particular kind of dosage forms, you need to use the different lots of the API. A minimum of, now when it comes to APIs lots, look at here, a minimum of 2 lots of the drug substance should be used to prepare the 3 primary batches of the drug product. So you are expected to use minimum 2 different lots of the API to manufacture 3 primary batches. The question number 7, are 6 months of stability data required on all three batches, or would one batch at 6 months and 2 lots at 3 months be acceptable? So if you do not have the data for all three batches till 6 month accelerated condition, is it acceptable? And here is the answer. Following ICH stability guidelines, okay, the 6 month accelerated stability data on all three submission batches should be provided. So you cannot submit a dossier with one batch having 6 month accelerated data and remaining two batches with, let us say, 3 month of the accelerated data. So such kind of dossier will not be accepted. The question number 8 is, if you are an applicant submitting an ANDA with two API sources, are you required to perform stability on three batches of drug product for each API source? Now this is very important question. You are using now two different lots of API. So are you going to manufacture the three different batches using these two different API lot? That is the question answer as asked. And here is the response for that. Comparison and justification, the comparison and justification by the firm of physico-chemical properties and impurities of API shall be given. So you have to give the comparison between the two different API sources, that from source number one and the source number one, these are the physico-chemical comparison and they are one and the same in terms of their impurities or another important quality attributes. Provide three batch data on one source for qualification of first source, preferably used in BE studies. So you need not to provide, you need not to manufacture the three different batches by using two different API sources. The primary source, right? Your primary API source, you need to manufacture three different batches. And that is going to become your qualified source for the API during the manufacturing of the product under discussion. The third important point is one batch. The one batch, preferably bio batch or bio strength, not the bio batch but the bio strength, using second source along with comparative dissolution data is needed. So what you have to do now, for first API source you have three batches, stability done perfectly, all right. But for the second API source or your alternative API source, you need not to manufacture three batches again. You have to take one batch, right? One batch. And in case if you have multiple strength of product, then at least one batch at the strength of the bioequivalence strength. Suppose you have 10, 20, 40 mg as the label claim and the 40 mg has gone for the BE study. So preferably you must manufacture the batch with the second API source with the 40 mg label claim, and then you can give the comparative dissolution study for the your first API source batch and the second API source batch. Accepted accelerated long-term stability data at 6 months while filing on strength manufactured for each API source is needed. So you need to have a 6-month accelerated data for all the API sources that you are going to file in the dossier. Now the next point is really very important, the number of batches and the batch size. And let us have a discussion on these five different kind of dosage forms: the solid orals, parenterals, powder, solutions or suspension, transdermal patches, and the topicals like creams, lotions, and the gels. Let us begin our discussion with the requirement as per as solid orals are concerned. And here it is. So the two pilot scale batches, as we know that there requires a three different batches, right? So out of these three, the two pilot scale batches of 1 lakh units or at least 10% of proposed production, whichever is greater. So you need to have, two scale up batches, right, with the size of 1 lakh units or 10 percentage of your proposed commercial production batch, whichever is a greater. So let us understand with the help of suitable example, and here it is on your screen. So in the example number one, the production batch size is how much? 15 lakhs tablets. You are proposing the commercial production batch size is 15 lakhs. So what is the 10% of this proposed production batch? It becomes 1.5 lakhs. It becomes 1.5 lakhs. And what is now greater? Whether 1 lakh is greater or 1.5 lakh is greater, and the 1.5 lakh, which is 10 percentage of your production batch size, is greater. So you need to have a pilot scale batches with minimum of 1.5 lakhs tablets. The second example here is, now the production batch size is 5 lakhs tablets. Then what is the 10% of the production batch? It becomes 50,000 tablet. So which is greater, 1 lakh units or 50,000 units are greater? Of course, the 1 lakh units are greater. So your pilot scale batch size is going to become now 1 lakh tablets minimum. The second important point is the third batch. So we talked about the second two batches. What about third batch? The third batch can be smaller than 10% of the proposed production, but not less than 25% of the pilot scale batch. So it can be less than 10 percentage of your production batch size, but it should not be less than 25% of your pilot scale batch. So let us understand with the suitable example, and here it is. So the pilot scale batch is 1 lakh. Your pilot scale batch is 1 lakh. So what is the small scale batch requirement now? The 25 percentage of your pilot scale batch. So 25 percentage of 1 lakh become 25,000. So the 25,000 become the batch size of your small third small batch. So you got two pilot scale batches, and the third one is the small scale batch, which is now 25,000 unit capacity, and we understand how it has been calculated. Now, if the production batch is smaller than 1 lakh units, then stability batches can be manufactured with actual production batch size. So suppose production batch size itself is a 50,000. Then obviously the pilot scale batch size is going to become 50,000. Let us understand the number of batches and batch size in case of parent errors. So the two pilot scale batches of at least 10% of proposed commercial size, 10 percentage of the proposed commercial size, or 50 liter if the fill volume is larger than 2 ml. If your vial contain the larger than 2 ml of the volume, then 50 liter can be batch size, or the 30 liter if the fill volume is up to 2 ml, and whichever is greater. So understand whether the 10% of the commercial production batch is greater, whether 50 liter is greater or 30 liter is greater based on to your fill volume. The second important point in case of parenteral is third batch. Now we talked about two batches. The third batch can be smaller than 10 percentage of the proposed production batch, but not less than 20 percentage of the pilot scale batch. So I think it is similar in case of solid oral dosage form also. When multiple fill volume sizes are proposed by the applicant, example 1 ml, 2 ml, 3 ml, then 50 liter per batch size is always a recommendation. So you can think of 50 liter batch size, and you cannot go with the 30 liter batch size as in case of point number 1 we discussed. Let us understand the number of batches and batch size in case of powders, solutions, and the suspensions. So the two pilot scale batches of 1 lakh units, or at least 10 percentage of the proposed production, whichever is greater. So as good as solid orals. The second point is about the third batch now, and the third batch can be smaller than 10% of the proposed production batch, but not less than 25 percentage of the pilot scale batch. I think you are clear on to this point. The next point is the transdermal patches. So what is the batch size for two pilot scale batches of at least 10 percentage of the production batch and 25% 25,000 units, whichever is a greater. So you need to understand, what is the 10 percentage of the production batch. Is it greater than 25,000? Then the 10 percentage of the production batch will become your batch size of the pilot scale. Otherwise, the 25,000 units will become the batch size of your pilot scale batch. And you require two pilot scale batches. And for the small scale batch, for the third batch, which is small scale batch, can be smaller than 10 percentage of the production batch, but should not be less than 60 percentage of the pilot scale batch, the 60%. So if in case if your pilot scale batch is 25,000 units, so calculate the 60 percentage of the 25,000, it becomes how much? Hmm? Uh, 60,000 will become how much? It becomes 15,000, right? So the 15,000 units becomes the batch size of your small third batch. In case of topicals like creams, lotions, and ointments, here is the requirement. So two pilot scale batches, at least of 10 percentage of the production batch, or 100 kg, whichever is larger. So you need to understand, what is the 10 percentage of the your commercial manufacturing batch. Is it greater than 100 kg? Then the 10% of the production batch will become your batch size of the pilot scale batch. Otherwise, minimum 100 kg will become the batch size of the pilot scale batch. Then the third batch can be smaller than 10% of the production batch, but should not be less than 40% of the pilot scale batch. Very simple and clear. The last question is, do the small scale batches need to be manufactured in accordance with all CGMP regulations, or is it acceptable to manufacture the small scale batches in a research setting? So the question is, do we need to use the manufacturing facility actual commercial facility for manufacturing of the small scale batch, or can we manufacture a small scale batch into R&D environment? And answer to this, all A&D submission batches should be made following CGMPs. Should be made following CGMPs. So you can think of using any area, but that area must be a GMP certified area. So I hope you must have now got an overview of all these 10 very important questions when it comes to a stability study. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I will meet you soon with such kind of useful and informative videos. Till then, take care and bye bye. See you soon.